I'm still what you would call an incel, but not Chris Chan levels of incel. Okay, I'm glad that we're not on his level. I wouldn't openly harm someone unless it's self-defense. I hope it stays that way. I get what you mean. I mean, back in the day, dude, I was like the guy that sometimes people say this as a joke, but people are like, I think actually dead ass serious when they said back in those days in high school that if they heard gunshots, they would think that it was me. And they didn't even say that they would think, they said that they would know. They would know, like, oh, that's Drew. Drew finally cracked. And I can see why. And, I won't lie to you. I had times where the thought of going on a good little rampage, a good little killing spree, appealed to me. But I was never that kind of guy. I was never that kind of guy. I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never do that today. But I was definitely in that sort of strata. Social strata, if you want to put it that way. That social class. I was the type of person that would do that. So much so that there was actually a time when someone brought a gun to school. And it was actually my day off, believe it or not. And actually, hold on, pause for this because it's kind of funny. So it was my day off. I was like out sick or something. I don't know. And someone brought a gun to school, and the school was on lockdown, and people were blowing up my phone about it. And they thought that it was me. And it was funny because it turned out in the end, the school was shut down, the police came out and everything. It turned out it was a guy with a paintball gun or like an airsoft gun or something like that. It wasn't a real gun. But people genuinely thought that it was me, and it was very... I personally found it funny. Everybody that was there, some of them didn't find it funny, and I'm glad nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt, and the kid didn't get killed, which is frankly miraculous. I almost would have liked to hear that he got switched down by the old law enforcement officers, because that would make me feel safe. But that's not what happened. I suppose they had a sniper, maybe, identify that it wasn't a real weapon. But no, that's the thing. And honestly, I really think it's as simple as this. Well, okay, there's probably more to it. But, sex and violence are a couple of very powerful forces in this world. What did it say in the Family Guy intro, right? It seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV, right? Violence and sex are correlated to death and life. They're very powerful forces. They're arguably the two most powerful forces in the world. Love and hate, death and life, violence and sex. So, I kind of think part of what's going on is when you're not doing well sexually, if you can't fuck, what else is there, right? If you can't fuck, you can't love. I mean, there's only one other side of the coin. And I think that's a way of looking at, some of these shootings where we have, your Eric Rogers, your people of that, of that caliber. That's my theory. And I say that as a person who is of that archetype. I think I have authority to kind of profile and analyze that kind of thing. And I'll tell you, I think that's really what it comes down to. Not every guy that they can't get laid is gonna, up the pole, but there's certainly a correlation. My biggest advice to anybody who is getting in that kind of... If you kind of feel a school shooting coming on inside of you, if you feel like it's kind of bubbling to the surface, might happen. My advice, if you don't want it to happen... Oh, God. Smoke weed. I think Dave Chappelle said this. If you just feel like you're gonna maybe come to school with a gun, and there's still a party that doesn't want to do it, hey, smoke up, light up, go find the stoner kids, and ask them, see if you can take a hit, let them know that if you don't take a hit, you're gonna blow their heads off, and then you'll definitely get some bud, and maybe it'll help you kind of level out. I'm not a big weed smoker. I actually am kind of proud of myself for not smoking weed. Me, myself, personally, I'm an alcohol enjoyer, but... And I'm proud of myself for that. I feel like it makes me different from everyone. Everybody smokes weed, Come over here. Ugh. Anyways, I'm a big drinker. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a fan. I'm an alcohol appreciator. And that works too. Although maybe not as well as weed for quelling that kind of shit, but it could work. It's just that you could smoke weed all the time if you're like a bona fide school shooter wannabe, or what's the word, candidate, and you want to kind of mellow out, that's a way to do it. The problem with alcohol is you can't drink alcohol all the time, and it'll give you cancer, and it'll really fuck up your life. But weed, you can pretty much smoke all the time. Maybe you're not going to fully realize your full potential. Maybe you're going to be a little annoying to talk to in the worst case scenario, right? But it's worse. It's better than you know, killing people. Like I had people push me, but I push back. That's fair. You got to push back. Otherwise, if you that's the problem is that that's the other thing that happens too is people fuck with you and you don't. A lot of times, just like giving it back to them, even without literally fighting them or getting that serious, just like it depends. Just kind of giving them a little bit of something. Give them a taste of their own medicine. Talk some shit. Uh, is all it takes. A lot of times, there was times in school where I'd be intimidated by somebody a little bit, and they'd be like giving me shit, and I would just like say, "Shut the fuck up." It's like it could be that simple. Just like shut the fuck up, or eat my ass, or just disrespect them instead of like walking away or saying nothing. And worst comes to worst, you'll maybe lose a tooth. Uh, but probably not. A lot of the time, they're looking for you to do that, and when you do that, when you give them shit back, they like it, and you're best friends after that. And you realize I can actually talk shit back to this person. We can have fun, and those are the greatest people. You find one of them, it's great. If somebody gets violent or gets serious over it, then okay, fuck it, whatever. If you got to throw down, you got to throw down. But 9 times out of 10, people that talk shit want somebody to talk shit back, and that's what they want, and that's all they need. And it can be a what's the word? Symbiotic relationship. Anyways, I got suspended for saying I want to blow up the school when I was 12. Same. I said I was going to put a bomb in my teacher's car. I also jumped at her. I actually got sent to like a different school because of that. I actually went to 2 different schools for every level of education. I was a bit of a problem child. Anyways, my gym coach overheard and snitched on me because he thought it was a bomb threat. Wow. And then I pushed my... I just find it funny in retrospect, like these parents, or sorry, these adults, teachers and whatever, the staff at school that think a kid is dead ass gonna bring a bomb. I mean, I'm sure it could happen, but like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on. I'm just saying that because the same thing happened to me on a couple of occasions. A teacher took once we get to like basically puberty and later, okay, I understand. Once we get into like teenage, like literally 13, 14, sure. If you're fucking 12, 11, 10, you're not going to bring a bomb to school. You're not going to, yeah, I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just saying it's kind of bogus to really be out there moving like it is going to happen. And then I pushed my teacher in 8th grade when I was 14 and got suspended. Combined, and I read that in the corner of my eye. I thought you said Columbine, and I was very scared before I read the chat. Combine that and a misunderstood attempt at boys being boys and pushing a fellow classmate. I got grounded until the last day. Wow. That's the other thing too. They don't let kids fight in school. It was kind of happening back in the day when I was in school, but I feel like nowadays they really do not let kids fight. And it's like, bro, you have to fight. Look at animals. What do animals do? They fucking fight when they're kids. When animals are growing up, it's play fighting, but like still. You gotta swing. I feel like you gotta swing on somebody at least once in life. It's crazy not to. My tip, if you've never gotten a chance to throw down in school, then when you get out of school or while you're in school, go like do boxing or sparring or something. That also would reduce your chance of shooting up school if you get kind of burn off that energy, on a punching bag or on a punching person. And by the way, if you're too scared to actually get in a real fight, that's another reason to go to the gym and throw hands and spar. Because that way you can kind of develop yourself mentally and physically without having to actually like be in a serious fight. Anyways,